Good evening, fellow Plexers. This will be a quick video for Eric to show him a couple features with Filebot. Filebot can pull in media posters, and it can also search for subtitles. So I'm on my backup Synology NAS. My regular Plex server media is on my newer NAS, but I do have a test Plex install on this NAS made up of all public domain videos that I use for certain demonstrations. So inside the main movie library on that one, I'm going to just take one of these movies and use Filebot to pull in artwork. And you'll see I just have the movie here. Now, this works with Filebot's default binding, it works with their newer default expressions, or it works with your own custom expressions. And this file name is from my custom expression. The movie folder originally had the word remastered in it, and Filebot with a right expression formula can pick up on common keywords and insert the addition tag in. And of course that's a Plex Pass feature. I use Filebot to insert media characteristics, and the only place I go off the rails is to put those media characteristics in brackets is totally legal in a TV series library, but not legal yet in a movie library. My expectation is that Plex will eventually add that as a rule, but because I have the space-space separator, it doesn't matter if that extra info is bracketed or not. So I'm just betting on the future that that'll be legal, but it doesn't hurt it or doesn't help it right now. With a TV show episode, Plex ignores anything in brackets, and that's what I will expect to happen eventually with a movie library. So I just feel I have to explain that. All right, so let's get into Filebot. I'm going to open the folder up with Filebot, and my license is about to expire. So if I click the wrench and the screwdriver in the lower right, I can click post-process under options, and you can have fetch artwork and fetch cover images on. It was already turned on. So now I am going to just rename my media. I'm not going to create structure because structure is already created. And this would be my default expression if I was creating structure. Well, actually, to just rename it, it's giving me a funny file name. I'm going to create structure again, because the green dot is just showing it as not being renamed. So let me click on that, and you'll see Filebot added 5 files. Before I forget, I'm going to turn that off. I don't want to grab artwork by accident the next time I rename something. So now if I go into the folder, I have the same movie. It hasn't been renamed because it was already good, and it brought in this artwork. So let's show you how to use it in a library. And this would be a default setting for the whole library. Now, I don't have local artwork, and really, most of this doesn't matter. The backdrop and the poster should. So let's edit both of those. Okay, let me just do this. Let me ruin it just so we can identify whether Plex brings it in. And this is new. I haven't done anything like this before. Okay, so we'll just double check. All right, so we can easily identify any changes in Plex. So let me bring up the web app, go into settings, I'm on that test server. You go down to libraries and the main movie library. I will edit the library, go to advanced, drop down and choose prefer local metadata. Now, use local assets is checked by default. And I'll save the changes. Now I'll go into that library and we will, well, let me stop here. Because this server is running on the Synology NAS, I have this server set up for Plex to detect changes to the file structure all by itself, and it would cause things to rescan. Well, adding those pictures isn't going to do anything, so I need to refresh the metadata for the whole library. Or I could just refresh the metadata for this one movie. Okay, so it picked up the new poster, and you can see the X on the background image. It picked that up also. So now if I go and delete all this, now I'm going out on a little bit of a limb. I haven't done this, but because that local metadata doesn't exist, I really don't have to change the settings of the library to not look for it. I should just have to refresh again, and we should go back to using what Plex supplies themselves. And if I edit the movie and go into posters, you'll see the different choices that you can pick from. And whenever I add a new movie, I manually change the poster. I seldom like the one they pick. I like something that has the actor's name in it, something like this. And to be honest, I don't really care what the background is. So, yeah, that's how it works with Filebot. Filebot's the best companion utility to use with Plex across the board. And I didn't talk about this. So, my Filebot license is on its last leg. Today's it. But if I open Filebot again and go into the post processes once more, you can fetch subtitles. And I don't know if I've connected this install of Filebot to open subtitles or not. This isn't my default desktop. I just do a lot of recordings under this Fedora Atomic Budgie spin. I'm using Pop OS on my normal drive lately, but everything's larger. You can see it better here, so this is what I record with. So let's see if we can bring in a subtitle. All right, one file added. And I want to remember to turn that fetch subtitles off. I actually wish Filebot had a little button, like right here in the middle, to enable subtitles and disable them. That would be handy. So now if I go in, it brought in a matching subtitle. Well, we hope it matches. I'm watching off screen. Yep, and it matches. And I probably could show that movie on YouTube because it's public domain, but I don't want to risk a copyright strike and have a fight on my hands. So, Eric, Filebot's great. Now, I can mention Sonar and Radar in my video. I don't use Radar personally. I don't really see a need to acquire something and put a movie into a list to acquire later. You might as well just grab it when you want it. Sonar is very, very handy, but they're not my go-to for renaming. I know how to use them for renaming, but they don't compare with Filebot for renaming. And you can pull subtitles with Filebot. You just don't get a choice of what you pull. You may end up with a hearing impaired. You may end up with a default one, and occasionally you'll end up with a forced one. You can't tell Filebot which one to look for. But it does pretty well. If you're missing subtitles, that's the first place I do. I run it through Filebot again or do it the first time. And if it's not in sync, I go to Subscene and grab one until I find one that syncs. So Oh, I meant to mention this, so not quite done. If your server is now loading wrong posters after the update, I'm betting you're not fully compliant with your folder structure with the movie folder name or the file name. And I'd love to see some screenshots of both of these to see what's going on with a few of the examples that had their posters disappear. That's just something I haven't seen for a while with the latest and greatest Plex movie scanner. All right, this is long enough. Hope this is helpful. Have a nice night.